Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Help for the Guiltless. My name, of course, is Antoine. Now, before I start, I do want to point out that the link to the GoFundMe is down below, and this is called A Proper Home for a Proper Villain. This is to help me, my 5-year-old daughter, and my girlfriend get out of Southern California after our landlord decided he was going to kick us out. I have less than 20 days to get this done. Anything you could do, even sharing the link around, would help. Please help my daughter, my girlfriend, and myself get a home that we can call our own. Now let's get on with the show. Shall we? All the rage right now seems to be getting your DNA tested. And that happens from places that'll tell you how black you are, or what percentage of your DNA comes from Scandinavia, or how much of a Viking you would be. There's even some that would tell you what color hair you were supposed to have compared to what you were born with. And this all started because of Ancestry.com. Long time ago, they decided that people maybe wanted to learn about their family trees. But from Ars Technica, woman takes Ancestry.com DNA test, learns her real dad is her mom's doctor. This is like an episode of Law and Order SVU. Actually, I think this was an episode of Law and Order SVU. Direct-to-consumer genetic analysis finds unexpected and twisted branch of family tree. There are many reasons to avoid the plethora of direct-to-consumer DNA tests on the market these days. Recent data suggests that many may produce alarming false positives for disease risk, while others that claim to predict things like athletic abilities and wine preference are simply dubious. Another, perhaps less common concern is that an at-home genetic analysis may unveil completely unexpected, deeply disturbing information that you just can't prepare for. Like 23andMe, when it comes back and you find out that the person that you're married to for the last 20 years actually is partly your cousin. That would be deeply disturbing, I would think. But it's more along the lines of these things can happen, and the unexpected results are, well, unexpected. You expect a certain thing, especially from someplace like Ancestry.com. That was the case for Washington State's Kelly Rowlett, who took a DNA test with the popular site Ancestry.com back in July 2017. Rowlett was likely expecting to discover new details about her distant ancestors, but she instead learned that her DNA sample matched that of a doctor in Idaho. The Ancestry.com analysis predicted a parent-child relationship. Befuddled and in disbelief, Rowlett relayed the findings to her parents, Sally Ashby and Howard Fowler. According to the lawsuit a family filed with the U.S. District Court of Idaho, she told her parents she was disappointed that the results were so unreliable. Disappointed seems to be an understatement here when you consider the fact that her father was not necessarily her father. I mean, saying that she was disappointed in this aspect in comparison to how the article is saying it is more akin to saying, I'm sorry you can't have that lollipop, instead of saying, I'm sorry the mass murder happened at Disneyland and it's been closed for the last week. There's a bit of a balance there. But little did she know that her parents, who previously lived in Idaho, had trouble conceiving her and, in 1980, underwent an unusual fertility procedure with a doctor near their Idaho Falls home. Yes, unusual. Most of the time people call that cheating. The name of that doctor was Gerald E. Mortimer, who happened to have a DNA sample with Ancestry.com that matched Rowlett's. When you have a doctor with the last name Mortimer, it's kind of like going to someone about a head cold with a doctor named Frankenstein. It's not a good idea. That's just my opinion on it, though. Back in 1980, Ashby and Fowler became patients of Mortimer after unfruitful attempts to conceive. Ashby was diagnosed with a tipped uterus, while Fowler was said to have a low sperm count and low sperm mobility. I just learned more about her mother than I think I wanted to know, and more about her father than I think I wanted to know. The couple agreed to a fertility procedure in which Mortimer said he would mix Fowler's sperm with donor sperm in 85% to 15% ratio. The doctor would then use that mixture to inseminate Ashby, which he did in multiple procedures in June, July, and August of 1980. Apparently, Ashby was very busy on the doctor's table. In essence, what this doctor has done is given us a real-life situation of tortoise and the hare, where the 15% low and slow went up against the 85% slick and quick. It's very obvious with the results of this what actually happened. But just so I don't keep you in suspense, let's continue on. Ashby and Fowler agreed to that plan, thinking that the donor sperm used would be from an anonymous donor that met their exact specifications. They wanted the sperm to be from a college student who resembled Fowler. Specifically, he would have brown hair, blue eyes, and over 6 feet tall. Mortimer assured the couple that the donor sperm was from just such an anonymous match. I'm sure he did. As a matter of fact, they could have said they wanted blonde hair, ice blue eyes, and someone who was 4'10", and Mortimer, knowing exactly what he was going to add to the mixture, would have said, "That's perfect. I have the exact sample that you need." I mean, let's not mince words here. He knew for a fact that he was going to add his baby batter to the bun in the oven. The man is dubious, devious, and disgusting. Ashby discovered she was pregnant in August of 1980 and gave birth in May of 1981 to Rowlett. Mortimer delivered the baby. Because of course he did. He didn't want his bouncing bundle of joy to fall into the wrong hands. This is then, if something went wrong, he could then explain it away. The doctor, Mortimer, is actually very clever and disgusting and devious and dubious. I've said this already. The doctor continued to provide medical care for Ashby for years afterward. Is that what we're calling it now? During which time the couple naturally conceived a second child. Maybe he wasn't so low and slow. Or Rowlett's head was big enough to right Mama's cervix. Who knows? Eventually, the couple decided to move to Washington State. When Ashby told Mortimer of the impending move, he cried, the lawsuit notes, suggesting he was well aware that Rowlett was his biological child, and he was saddened that he would be parted from her and the family. That's some sick shit. You have taken care of this child's medical procedures, growing up, the checkups, everything like that, knowing full well that that little baby, that daughter, that child was yours. And then the family says we're moving, and you openly weep. How the hell did you explain that one away? Oh, I just have watched her grow up from a baby to what she is now, and you're taking her away from me. I just want her to have the best care possible from the family physician that you have known since she was conceived. I just happen to forget to add that I know she's mine and that your husband has been raising another man's child this entire time. Do you see how that's a problem? When Rowlett first mentioned the surprise DNA results in July 2017, her parents were devastated, but painfully labored over whether to tell their daughter the truth. Well, I believe the cat is out of the bag on this one. It turns out they didn't have to. In October, Rowlett stumbled upon her birth certificate while helping her father do some cleaning. The certificate listed Mortimer's name, which Rowlett recognized from the Ancestry.com results. Rowlett, Ashby, and Fowler are now suing Mortimer and his practice, Obstetrics and Gynecology Associates of Idaho Falls, for an excess of $75,000. A few $1,000s worth of birthday cards. That's perfect amount of inflation. I mean, if you're talking $20 per birthday card till, well, she's around my age, so 36 years. Yes, she is definitely owed a lot more than $75,000. Actually, the parents are owed more than $75,000. What he did was horrifying. Not only did he break their trust, but he fathered a child in the mother without her knowledge. This is something that I would consider paramount to rape. She did not agree to his sperm. Now, I'm not saying he raped her. I said it's paramount to it. He fathered a child in her against her will. She was hoping that it would have been the donor's sperm or her husband's sperm that fertilized her egg. The suit accuses Mortimer of medical negligence, fraud, battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and breach of contract. Medical negligence? I don't think it was medical negligence because he knew exactly what he was going to do. Fraud, yes. Battery, all right, can't get him on the rape charge? Sure, let's go with the battery. Intentional infliction of emotional distress? There's the problem. Those are two conflicting things. If he was medically negligent, he couldn't intentionally inflict emotional distress. So they're trying to go on both sides here. If they can't get him for medical negligence, they can get him for intentional infliction of emotional distress, which I actually agree with. And breach of contract. I really want this man to be put away, but I don't think it's going to happen. But I also want this family to get what's coming to them, because they deserve a lot more than $75,000. I'm hoping that the jury doesn't go, we'll just give him 75,000. I'm hoping the jury goes, we give you 75,000 and then a couple million for damages, punitive damages. Ars Technica reached out to OGA, from which Mortimer has now retired. In a statement, OGA said that none of its current providers was part of the practice during the time Ashby and Fowler received care there. Now, its providers diligently strive to provide care to their patients that is in compliance with the standards of healthcare practices. Of course you are. I didn't think you were going to keep up with Mortimer's grand plan of just having your doctors impregnate every woman that comes through. I mean, that would be pretty disgusting. In a statement to the media, Ancestry.com wrote, "We are committed to delivering the most accurate results. However, with this, people may learn of unexpected connections. With Ancestry, customers maintain ownership and control over their DNA data. Anyone who takes the test can change their DNA matching settings at any time, meaning that if they opt out, their profile and relationship will not be visible to their customers." Basically, what Ancestry.com just said was, fuck you. It had nothing to do with us. That was all the creepy doctor's fault. You can't sue us because he put his sperm in your mama's body. It was the biggest non-answer I've ever heard. They're just trying to make themselves look good. Now, here's the problem I have with this whole thing. This doctor took advantage of two people's trust in a time of need, a time where they were hurting. And instead of actually doing what he said, he decided he wanted to father a child. Now, whether it's out of care for Ashby and Fowler, or his own ego-driven maniacal thoughts, he did something that was just horrifying. There's no way to tell when you go to a fertility clinic if they use the sperm that you chose. I mean, it all looks exactly the same. So, what's the problem here? Well, it's the breach of trust. You're a doctor. You took the Hippocratic Oath, and what you did was you hurt someone, intentionally. Now, since you're retired, which probably means you're in your 70s or so, you're not going to see jail time, although you should. Dr. Mortimer, you have won an award from me, one that I've never given out before, because I just came up with it now. I'm going to call it Jackass of the Millennia. It's not as bad as someone who goes out and shoots 17 people in a school, but you did something that even I would consider despicable, and that's saying something. You deserve so much more punishment than you're going to get. And I hope that Rowlett, Ashby, and Fowler get their just desserts from you, because you, sir, are the biggest jackass I have ever heard of. And those are my thoughts, folks. I'd love to know yours. Let me know in the comments. If you like what I do here, please hit like, share, and subscribe. And if you do subscribe, hit that little bell icon so you know when I upload. If you'd like more of me, you can always join me every Tuesday at 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where you can join Brockus, Zell, Lo-Fi, and myself for Proper Villains Live. Or you can always join me on my Discord. The links are down below. If you'd like to support the channel, I have links below for Patreon, Maker Support, and a link to PayPal for one-time donations. There's also a link to a very awesome merch store. But with that being said, this has been Help for the Guildless. My name, of course, is Antoine, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.